Click on the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel, like and share this video, and engage in our comments. I wasn't even supposed to go on the trip. It was a last-minute thing. One of the girls in our group dropped out and they needed a fourth to keep the price down. And somehow, between wine and peer pressure, I said yes. A week in Hawaii with my college girlfriends? Sure, why not? I figured I could use the break. My husband was supportive, even encouraging. You need this, he said. Get some sun, sleep in, don't think about anything. I didn't realize how easy it would be to do exactly that. The first few days were harmless: beach mornings, lazy pool afternoons, dinners with too much wine. It felt like being 21 again, like I had stepped out of my real life and into someone else's. No bills, no dishes in the sink, no laundry, no one calling me babe or asking where the keys were. Just soft sand and a salty breeze and sunburnt shoulders. And then came the night we met them. There was a club down the road from our resort, just a tiny, hidden place tucked into the side of a hotel with barely enough lighting and too much bass. It was crowded and loud and sweaty, but it didn't matter. We were already tipsy when we walked in, laughing too loud and not caring. I remember glancing over at the bar and seeing him there, and just stopping. He was tall. Not just tall, but towering. Broad shoulders, dark skin, deep voice. Nigerian, I would find out later. But in that moment, I didn't know anything except that I couldn't look away. I don't even remember who said what first, but suddenly he was next to me. I think one of my friends introduced us. Probably Amber. She had no filter after 2 drinks and would have walked up to anyone. His name was Jide, pronounced G-Day, he told me, smiling when I said it wrong the first time. He had this presence, this calm, steady way of looking at me like I was the only person in the room. It made my stomach do that stupid flip I hadn't felt since college. We danced, not close at first, just near each other, enough that I could smell the cologne on his neck every time he moved. I kept telling myself it was just dancing, just music, just fun, and maybe it was. But there was a moment when his hand found my waist, and it didn't feel casual. It felt intentional, heavy, slow. His palm lingered, and I didn't move away. I don't know how long we danced like that. The club blurred into the background. At one point, my friend whispered something in my ear, and I laughed, but I didn't even hear what she said. Jide looked down at me and smiled like he knew something I didn't. Later, when we all stumbled back to the hotel, giggling in heels we couldn't walk in, I thought about him. Not about the dance or his accent or even his hands, but the way he looked at me like he had already decided something. The next morning, he messaged me. Apparently, one of my friends had given him my number as a joke, but it didn't feel like a joke when I saw his name pop up. It felt like something that shouldn't have happened, but did. I stared at the screen for a long time before I finally typed back, "Hey." And just like that, I felt the ground shift beneath me. The text didn't seem dangerous. At first, it was short, just said, "Hope you got home safe." But my thumb hovered over the keyboard longer than it should have. I wasn't drunk anymore, and the sunlight pouring through the hotel window reminded me I had a husband back home who had called earlier to check in. I missed the call, slept right through it. Still, I typed back, "Yeah, thanks, last night was fun." The dots appeared immediately, like he was waiting. I told myself I shouldn't care what he said next, but I did. "Let's grab a drink before you leave the island." I stared at the message. It was bold, not suggestive, not vulgar, just confident, like he was sure I'd say yes. I didn't respond. I tossed the phone aside, got ready for the beach, and told myself it was nothing. But that day, I noticed how often I checked my phone. I noticed how much quieter the ocean sounded, how my friends' voices didn't fill the space the way his voice did in my memory. I told myself I was imagining the electricity from the night before. I was married. I was just having a little too much vacation freedom. But when I went back up to the room alone that afternoon, the phone buzzed again. "I'll be at the bar downstairs tonight, around 8. Come say hi. That was all it took. I don't know what possessed me to get dressed the way I did. I didn't look like I was going to meet a friend. I didn't look like a married woman either. I wore this black dress that hugged just enough but didn't scream too much. My hair was still wet from the shower, curling at the ends. I didn't wear heels, just sandals, just in case I had to explain myself to the mirror. He was already there when I walked in, sitting at the far end, nursing something dark in a short glass. He saw me and smiled like I'd shown up right on time. You clean up nice, he said, eyes dragging down my dress in a way that wasn't crude, just heavy. Like he didn't rush anything. You're not so bad yourself, I said, even though that dress felt like it was glued to my skin. He ordered me a drink, something with pineapple and too much rum. We talked, not about anything serious, just random things. How he traveled a lot, how he had business in LA but liked to disappear sometimes. I told him I was from Ohio. I didn't mention my husband, not once. He didn't ask either. He made me laugh. I hadn't realized how long it had been since someone made me laugh like that. He was funny, but not in that performative way, just effortlessly charming. His hands never touched me, not once, but I felt every inch of his presence like gravity. When I got up to use the restroom, I caught myself in the mirror and my chest tightened. I didn't look guilty. I didn't look conflicted. I looked excited. My cheeks were flushed, my lips slightly parted, my eyes wide open. I was walking back toward the bar when I noticed it. He wasn't alone anymore. A woman, tall, model-looking, had slid onto the stool beside him. She was laughing at something he said, resting her hand casually on his arm. And he wasn't stopping her. He was smiling, nodding, sipping his drink like it meant nothing. Something twisted in me. I stopped a few steps short and watched. I don't even know why it bothered me. I had no right to feel anything. I was married. He wasn't mine. I didn't even know him. But there it was, that sting of jealousy blooming under my ribs like poison. I turned and walked out before he could see me. Back in my room, I paced. I didn't cry, I didn't text him. I just kept pacing like some kind of idiot, angry, not at him, at myself, because I wanted him to chase after me, because deep down, I wanted him to want only me. At 9:13, my phone buzzed again. Where'd you go? I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered again. And this time, I let myself reply. Saw you were busy. The reply came fast. I wasn't. I should have stopped. Should have put the phone down, closed the window, turned off the lights, but I didn't. He sent one more message. Come to my suite. Just talk. No pressure. And that was the moment the line blurred. The moment my heart beat louder than my conscience. Because I knew if I went, I knew. And yet, I found myself reaching for the key card anyway. I didn't even tell my friends I was leaving the hotel. They were probably still down at the beach bar, sipping overpriced cocktails and laughing too loudly at nothing. I slipped out quietly like I was doing something shameful, even though technically, I hadn't done anything yet. The hallway to his suite was quiet, too quiet. Every step made my heart pound harder. It wasn't like the movies. There was no dramatic music or flashing neon signs that said, "Don't do this." Just the soft hum of air conditioning and my own thoughts screaming in my ears. When I knocked, he opened the door right away, like he'd been waiting on the other side. He wasn't smiling, not like before. His expression was unreadable, dark, calm, focused. Wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I almost didn't. You want to leave? I shook my head. That was the worst part. I didn't want to, not even a little. His suite was much bigger than mine. High ceilings, a huge balcony, and a soft amber light spilling out across the white sheets on the bed. That bed might as well have been the center of gravity in the room because my eyes kept getting pulled to it. He didn't move closer, just walked over to the bar and poured 2 drinks. Then he handed me one, like we were old friends about to talk through some deep life secret. Except nothing about this felt casual. There was a heat in the air, like the electricity before a storm. when the clouds go dark and you know something is about to happen. We sat on the edge of the couch, a few inches apart. He asked about my marriage. Not directly, just things like, "Are you happy?" or "Do you feel seen?" Questions that weren't supposed to be so heavy, but they landed like bricks in my chest. I didn't answer right away. "I guess sometimes I feel like I'm fading," I finally said. "Like no one really sees me anymore. Not the real me." He nodded slowly, eyes never leaving mine. "I see you." That line, it sounds cheesy now, but in that moment, it didn't feel like a line at all. It felt like the most honest thing anyone had said to me in years. He brushed a piece of hair from my cheek. His fingers barely touched my skin, but it was enough to make my breath hitch. Then he pulled back, like he was giving me a choice. Like every move he made was deliberate, an invitation, not a demand. "I won't touch you," he said quietly, "unless you ask me to." That's when I realized this wasn't just about physical attraction. This man could read me. He understood that half of me wanted to run, and the other half was already undressing him in my mind, and he was giving me power to say yes or no. But that just made it harder. I set my drink down and stood up, not because I was leaving, but because I needed space to breathe. I walked out onto the balcony into the warm Hawaiian night. The air smelled like salt and hibiscus. I leaned on the railing, closed my eyes, and tried to talk myself down from whatever edge I was standing on. He came up behind me, close, but not touching, his voice low in my ear. "You want me to back off? Just say the word." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My whole body was betraying me. My skin burned. My pulse throbbed in places I couldn't even name. I knew what would happen if I turned around, if I looked into those eyes again. So I did. And he was there, right there, so still, so strong, looking at me like I was the only woman on the island, and I wanted to fall into him, just for a moment, just long enough to remember what it felt like to be wanted, desired, chosen. I leaned in, not all the way, just close enough that I could feel the heat of his breath on my lips. But I didn't kiss him. I couldn't. I pulled back, barely, my hands clenched at my sides. "I should go," I whispered, my voice trembling. He nodded. "Okay." That was all he said. He didn't stop me, didn't chase me. He just let me walk away. And somehow, that made it even harder. When I got back to my room, the sheets were cold. My heart was still racing. And my body? My body felt like it had been set on fire and then told to sleep it off. I didn't sleep, I just laid there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, asking myself the same question over and over. How close can you get to the edge before you fall? And the scariest part? I wanted to go back. The next morning, I told myself it was over. Whatever that was, whatever almost happened, I was going to leave it there. In the sweet, in the heat of the night. In the memory of his eyes on mine, I promised myself I'd forget it, that I could forget it. I wore a one piece to the beach that day, the most boring one I packed. No makeup, hair in a bun, like I could dress myself back into my regular married life. My friends didn't notice anything, or if they did, they didn't say a word. We drank smoothies, took pictures, and acted like nothing was different. But everything felt different. I told myself I wouldn't see him again, that I'd block him if he messaged me, that it was done. And then, that afternoon, he sent me one photo, just the view from his balcony. But the message underneath it hit like a hammer. "Still thinking about you." I stared at the screen for 5 full minutes. My thumb hovered over the delete button, but I didn't delete it. Instead, I answered, "I haven't stopped thinking about you either." The second I hit send, my stomach dropped. I felt like I had jumped off a cliff, but it was done. He replied immediately, "Come by. No pressure. Just talk. You deserve to feel seen." I didn't respond. I left my phone on the nightstand and paced my room for an hour. Every step felt heavier than the last, until without thinking I was already at the door. He opened it before I even knocked. This time he didn't speak. He just stepped aside and let me in. The air between us was so thick I could hardly breathe. He poured one drink, set it down, waited. I didn't touch it. I just stood there, eyes locked on his. I can't stop, I whispered. I don't even know why. I just can't. You don't have to explain. That's when it happened. He reached out and touched my face, gently, just his thumb against my cheek, like he was memorizing me, like I was something fragile. I closed my eyes. Then I felt his forehead rest against mine. We weren't kissing. We weren't talking. Just sharing the same air. It felt more intimate than anything. I want to do the right thing, I said, barely audible. Then tell me what that is, he whispered back. And in that moment, I didn't know. I truly didn't. His hand slid to the back of my neck. He was so close. I could feel the warmth of his chest, the tension in his arms. If I leaned forward even an inch, it would happen. Everything would tip. But I didn't get the chance. There was a knock on the door, a sharp, heavy knock. We both froze. I stepped back, heartbeat slamming in my ears. He looked at me, then at the door, confused, cautious. Another knock, louder this time, and then a voice, clear, stern. Ma'am, this is hotel security. We need to speak with you immediately. I went cold. He moved toward the door, but I grabbed his arm. Wait, don't open it. My mind raced. Security? Why would they be asking for me? Another voice, this one female. Please, we need to verify some information. You were seen entering this room. Your husband has requested contact. My stomach dropped. I didn't even remember telling him where I was going. I thought I had covered my tracks. I thought. The man turned to me, eyes wide. You didn't tell him anything, did you? I shook my head, terrified. Another knock, louder, more aggressive. Ma'am, if you don't open this door, we'll be forced to take further action. I looked at the door, then at him. Then the doorknob started to turn. If you want more real emotional stories like this one, stick around. You might just hear one that hits close to home. Subscribe for more.